Are you a human being? Are you also a Browns fan? Well, if you said yes to both of those things, then there's a good chance you're probably a little tired of our local Cleveland Browns sports media. Same old thing, day after day, night after night. It's time to hang the cleats up. It's time to pass the torch. If you're looking for something fun, something fresh, something where four people literally smack themselves in the face over and over with hot take after hot take, then my boys at Down with the Browns is where you want to be. It's just good for your soul. Available on Apple Podcast, YouTube, and Twitter. Getting down with the Browns.
And welcome back.
Let's go!
To another episode of Down with the Browns.
99.
Down with the Browns, baby!
Episode 99, DM right. New year.
Yes,
Hey, do you how are you guys feeling on this Victory Monday? Because
Oh,
cutting Cade York was the biggest dub this franchise is going to take all year.
Listen, I just want to say a quick thank you to Cade York because truthfully, I've been seeing a couple tweets on Twitter saying that fourth round pick was worth it just because of the kick against the Carolina Panthers. And I just want to give a round of applause for Cade York for that kick because we were all hype as Browns fans at that time. Shout out to him for the kick. Unfortunately, us Browns fans really need, all the points we can get. So if you can't do it consistently,
I
just
want to say this. And low key directed at KFC up here. Can we get the apology letters for Corey Bojorquez ready? Or...
Dude, he is not a good holder.
yeah, are we still is he a good holder? Are we still talking about that?
Really? Are we doing
Episode
this? Yeah,
99.
He is not a good holder.
I think you should apologize to him.
I'm
Yeah,
not
that's
gonna
true. That's
apologize.
true. Drew's very right. Cade York technically is not officially cut. What is officially happened is that we did get Dustin Hopkins over from the Chargers because Cameron Dicker won that job.
Dicker, the kicker, baby.
So
Did they announce that trade, though?
Yeah.
yeah, that's actually fine. That's actually finalized. That's actually true. That's actually real.
The Browns Twitter,
Yeah.
they tweeted that. So
Yeah, Zester Duel said that the
What is the life of a
holder is
kicker,
actually
man?
really good. So yeah, I mean, we can't blame it on the holder. We can't blame it. We're gonna have to. We're running out of excuses
He's
for
not-
him. We're running out of excuses.
go back and look at every
Okay,
kicker
all
that's
right,
kicked
Christian,
with him.
just
Wow.
because you're
It's
too
Dave
bad to
Zastrow
know
would
who
know.
I'm not
Zastrow
saying
is,
Cade's a good kicker. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying both of them were not good at their jobs.
You're
No,
calling
no, no,
out
no.
the GOAT. You're calling out the best punter in Cleveland Browns history. I hope you know that. Okay,
cool.
just because you're not
I
old
don't
enough
care.
to see him play. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a conversation. We're gonna have to have a
I'm
conversation about it
Okay.
because I want to hear everybody's viewpoint, but at the same time, something isn't right. And if if the Calder was really a problem, Cade York is way too much of a nice guy to kind of like not bring that up. Not that he has to bring it up to the media, but bring it up to somebody
you know
in
how
closed
easy
doors.
it is to find a punter. I mean, Dave Zassadel even tweeted it out. He's like, if it was the holder, he'd be gone by now, and he's
That's
still
true.
hanging around.
That's true.
So
That's true.
you
Anthony
can.
Schwartz hung
There's
around for
lots
10
of
years.
punters out there that are
Yeah.
dying for a job. So
100%.
You think Pat McAfee
100%.
could still strike a 60-yarder?
I mean, I know that he
I
can
think
hold.
I think he's making way.
So-
The problem with Pat McAfee, he's probably making way more money doing what he's doing at the Pat McAfee show.
Dude, he makes more in
man.
1 year now than he made his entire NFL career as an
It is
all-pro.
insane. It is insane.
Yeah, he
That's
was an
right.
pro. That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
That's crazy.
You know what's
So
even crazier?
what's crazy?
I don't know. You go ahead.
Oh no, yeah. No, I'll totally let you take the reins on that. So like,
Oh, so I'm on. Okay. Alrighty then. But like we were talking about, Cade York is gone, and we do have a new kicker, Dustin Hopkins.
We got D-Hop.
We got
Yeah,
a D-Hop.
Me and Manny had been begging the Browns for D-Hop for so long, and we got him. He's back. He's in the lane.
what do you guys? Why do you guys? The sirens are going off right now in my town, so I totally apologize for that. But what do you guys know about Dustin Hopkins? I know he came over from the Chargers. I know he's about 50% of completion from 50 yards or beyond. Exactly are we expecting from Dustin Hopkins? Maybe are we even expecting him to even have 50-plus yard kicks? I'm hoping that we're going to be in the 30 or 20 when we're actually kicking a field goal. But what is there anything you've heard about Dustin Hopkins? What are you guys hearing? Matt, go ahead, and then Jake, and then DM. You guys can go. So
everybody craps on me for loving analytics, but Cleveland Analytics tweeted out today: Dustin Hopkins is 16 for 18 on game-winning or tying field goals within 2 minutes or OT. One of those missed field goals was a 62-yarder. So clutch time, he's pretty good. I mean, we're talking about a guy that never had a season lower than 90% on extra points. I mean, we're talking with a guy now because everybody's like, oh, well, he played in Los Angeles. He played in a dome. He also spent 7 years in Washington. Ask RG3 how crappy that field is. I can't imagine it's easy to kick in. And right now, outdoors, his splits are 94% from extra point and 84.2% field goal. So, I mean, his field goal percentage is 10 points higher than Cade York's. So,
yeah,
to put it
100%.
simple, one hell of an upgrade.
No, he's a veteran, right? I mean, he's 32 years old. He's been around, and to your point, Mac, a lot of people are going to say indoors. He's kicking indoors. It's perfect conditions. No, he spent some time. He spent some time outdoors. He gets outside. And another thing I want to talk about is those game-winning field goals. That's impressive as well. That's a mental thing, right? I mean, you got to go out there and you got to do your job. You have one job. You're practicing. During halftime, you're not, giving speeches to your team. You're out there on the field kicking field goals, practicing, kicking into the kicking net. So you have one job. So when you're called upon, you got to make something happen more often than not, right? More often than not. And I think the Browns saw the preseason kind of performance from Cade York and was like, we're too good of a team to be losing to teams like this during the regular season by a field goal. You know what I mean? Like we cannot. Right. We're too good. You don't want to lose a game 33-30 because your field goal kicker could. You know what I mean? Like you want to be able to win high scoring games because you'll be in those high scoring games. Jake, what do you think? What are your thoughts about Dustin?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when I hear about Dustin Hopkins, I want to say it was last year. They played the Broncos on Monday Night Football. He made a ton of clutch kicks. Kicks that if he would have missed one, they lose the game. I can't remember the exact score of that game, but he basically put the Chargers on his back. And they beat the Broncos, and he essentially saved the Chargers season. I want to say if it wasn't for that game, the Chargers were in desperation for the playoffs, and that put them in survival mode. But that game was indoors. So there's a lot of unknown in the sense of, does he make those kicks in November with, 10-mile-an-hour wind in the opposite direction, So there's still a lot of unknown info, but I think personally with the situation that Cleveland was put in, they got the best possible kicker possible. I'm not saying that they got the best kicker in the NFL, but they got the best realistic situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's all we can ask for, too.
For sure. And I saw some people on Twitter talking about how can you go from drafting a kicker in the 4th and cutting him and then saying it's a waste of a pick and then trade a 7th for him?
But didn't they have an extra 7?
Dude,
yeah, they have an extra 7.
First round picks after a year or two, like it's water.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
nothing for us, a 4th rounder.
Exactly. And then and then if he hits the waiver wire, somebody's gonna claim him because he's a really good kicker. Kickers they come and go. One season they're good, the next they're bad. It's just you just don't know.
Well, let's hope it's a wake up call for him too. Anytime he's essentially losing his job and getting fired, he's getting another opportunity. So let's hope that's a wake up call for him to maybe he lost a little bit of focus and got complacent out there in San Diego or in LA, and maybe he refocuses himself too. So maybe he'll be even better than what he has been over the last couple of years. Just because sometimes that happens, that's a mental thing. You get fired and things change in your head about reevaluating and assessing yourself.
Yeah.
You're more honest with yourself at the point.
I would hope.
Jake, what were we going to say?
Oh yeah, and to add on to that point about Dustin Hopkins, in that Broncos Monday night game, and I had to look it up. He made, of course, an extra point on a touchdown, which is apparently huge in today's age. He made a 37, he made a 31, he made a 35, and he made a 39. And I know those don't seem like they're big kicks, but they were still clutch kicks with that type of game that they needed him to make. And if he misses one, they don't win the game. And they potentially don't have a shot for the playoffs in that week.
Yeah.
But again, that's just the point I was making.
Well, I mean, great point there, Jake, because, when I've heard the big knock on Dustin Hopkins, is his percentage from 50. But here's the thing. With the Browns offense, we should not be asking a kicker to make 50-yard field goals. We're just asking them to make the gimmies.
Yes. Yes.
And
That's true.
And what people don't think about, because when they think about the Washington football team, they just think of a dump hole. And they're not wrong. But, he did play in 2 playoff games, and the only miss that he had was an extra point in 2015. So, the guy has made clutch kicks and he makes his gimmies. So I'm all for it, because especially being a Cleveland football fan, we've had this revolving door of kickers. I want to say the last person to start back-to-back week ones was Zane Gonzalez, and that was like 17, 18.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting cut after week 2?
And
Week
went to
2.
Pro Bowl somewhere
So
else.
The day after week 2.
It's if the only thing that Dustin Hopkins does for his time in Cleveland is make the gimmies, I'm cool with that, because we haven't had somebody actually do that. I mean, we have somebody that gets hot, then they get the yips, and then their career takes a dump. So,
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love Crosby too.
Yeah.
Cody.
I don't think he would sign here because of the placeholder, though.
Yeah, we listen.
I've done a little stat digging while we've been talking about Corey Bajolquez. Just
and
want to let you know that.
Yeah, I'm
And-
already ready for it. Go ahead.
yeah,
All right.
let me put
Shane
the
Halska.
title. Let me put the title on the screen. We're talking.
And I'm
Whose
not
fault is
saying-
it really?
I'm not
Kicker,
saying Cade York's a good kicker. That is not coming out
holder,
of my
or
mouth.
both?
But to say Corey Bajolquez is the best placeholder of all time is just idiotic.
Based off of
Okay.
Mac, you said that?
Hauska,
They still had
86
80%.
87.6%
And what he
2018.
dipped to 82.
Huh?
What he dipped to 82.
And then the next season had the same percentage. The next year, but Tyler Bass, 82.4. And then the next year in Green Bay with Mason Crosby had
he's
the
like 35
lowest.
years old, and with the worst special teams coach in the NFL.
Is that why the next
Kicking
year
in Green Bay.
he went up 13%?
Yeah, they also had a new special teams coordinator.
Okay. But you know what?
A
You know who
special
his
teams
placeholder
coordinator
was?
that lost them a playoff
Corey
game against San
Bajolquez
Francisco. All right.
It seems like the common
I'm sorry.
factor.
Is Corey
It seems like
Bajolquez.
it seems like the common factor is Corey Bajolquez, and I put out a
Seems
poll
like coincidence, but that's fine.
I put out a poll on Twitter.
Yeah.
Who most Browns fans think is the problem? 63% said it's solely the kicker. 31% said both, and 6% said that
And it
it
is
was the
both.
holder.
If it was the holder, then
It was
why,
both.
So why is Cade York perfect in practice?
I don't know. I think about every. Okay, if we're talking about practice, you can
That's a
even
good
go
point.
look at basketball. The worst shooters shoot
Practice? Talking about
the
practice?
best ever in practice,
Talking about
and then it
practice.
gets game time and they go to crap. Okay,
I mean, it's the
when the
it's
lights
the
are on,
same-
people they change, bro.
Same
I'm
process.
sorry.
It's the same process.
You know what? And you know what? And the scary thing is to both of your points. I mean, we're gonna find out truthfully who's right in this situation. If it's the
true.
holder, if it's the kicker, because Bajorquez is going to be the holder for Dustin Hopkins, and
Yeah.
Cade York is not officially off this roster, so there might be a chance that he's brought back afterward or whatever. But the if Dustin Hopkins starts drilling these kicks, you know what I mean? Cade Pollard just needs to get laid. I think he needs a little bit.
Drew.
I think he needs a little bit more than that mentally, because he's missing these. I don't know how you make him in practice and then you just don't make him in the game. But like, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. Dustin Hopkins is here. He's on the team.
Yeah.
So if he starts drilling these kicks, it's only Cade York. It quite literally is only Cade York. And the thing I have to push back a little bit, KFC, is like, you would have heard already if Cade York does not like the way Corey Bojorquez is holding the football. You would have heard about this. You don't know
Right.
that's the one thing you would have heard something. Somebody would have said something. Nobody really is actually talking
This-
about that
okay.
besides the fans.
Being at that Ravens game, this is what set me off on this. I watched Cade York go at Corey Bojorquez for a solid 10 minutes, saying every word in the book. Like
That's
could
true.
read
You
it.
had the live. You
he
were
also
there
Jake was
live.
slipped
there.
on that field goal. His playing leg slipped.
Jake was there. Did he
Yeah.
not go off on him? For
Yeah,
like a solid
it was-
10 minutes?
It was
was
pretty
bad.
bad. I do think, though, it was more of just Cade York just trying to vent frustration, and that was the only person he could vent it to
Right,
at that moment
yeah,
in time.
Right.
And I feel sorry for him specifically in that moment, but it is what it is.
That.
You know, this is a great point, Cody. They should teach DTR how to hold, so they can use him on fakes. That's a great idea. I mean, DTR is extremely athletic. I mean, he can get out of that holding squat position extremely fast, and also throw a really accurate ball to some of the tight ends that are out there. But again, the only problem that I have is we're 2 weeks before week one versus, we're 2 weeks away from a gauntlet of the first 4 weeks of the season going against AFC North opponents. Do we really want to change it up and throw in DTR to hold? You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but
You would start off in practice and then work.
but again,
But do we want to take QB?
That's what I'm saying.
away
As
from those
Browns fans,
practice rounds?
there's 5 of us here, right? If we ask the question right now, do you feel comfortable right now, without even a preseason game to try it out? Do you feel comfortable with just teaching DTR, hey, in practice? We found out that it doesn't matter what happens in practice, because on the field, you can go 8 for 8, 9 for 9 in practice, but then on the field, miss game-winning kicks. So do we feel confident about that? Disturb Marine, you were saying something? Do you feel confident about DTR learning how to hold?
No, absolutely not. I mean, you guys see Moneyball? You remember when Scott Hatterberg, they were telling him just put Scott Hatterberg and teach him how to play first base, and the coach says, "Well, is it easy?" And Brad Pitt says, "Of course it's easy." And then the coach is like, "It's absolutely not easy. It's extremely hard to play first base if you've never played it before." Same thing with a holder. Those QBs that hold, they did that in college and high school too. You got to remember usually. So, it's rare for the Romos and stuff like that who holds kicks anymore. I say no, but if that's something you wanted to work towards next year and have him hold on kicks, then you could teach him that. But that's something he can't learn. In 2 weeks. There's no
And
way.
I just want to read this comment. This is a shout out to Antonio. I think you're a first time person who's watching the pod. Antonio says it's not the same. Game speed could change Bojorquez's holds. Personally, I feel Bojorquez plays a factor. Watch footage of Cade York's footage in college last year and up until now. That ball was coming off his foot weird. There's a reason the Bills and Packers didn't trust him. York Young ain't gonna call out anybody. That's true. I mean, he's a young guy. He's a rookie in the league. I mean, who do you have to call out anybody? That's a very strong point. I mean, you're not going to call out anybody. Jay Feely. I mean, he has. You're not going to go against. You're not going to go against him. But at the same time, every person's different. Just because somebody who's a great kicker, Adam Vinatieri, can come out and say, "No, those holds are perfect." No, those holds are perfect for you. Like you can get the ball snapped a little bit different. And if Corey Bojorquez is, in those game-winning situations, because it's weird when Cade York was 3 for 3, but then all of a sudden versus the Eagles, when it was a game-winning field goal, all of a sudden it misses. It could be Corey Bojorquez too. He's making a really good point, Antonio. A really good point.
Do you guys hear that?
Wait.
What's that?
Oh my gosh. It's oh my gosh. It's what the Buffalo Word.
Crazy transition, but yes, that is
I think they get it
that is
every
what the
20-minute
Buffalo
mark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I was waiting for it. Yes, NFL cut down days are sad, but so is my love life and your fantasy team. Get over it. This is Mac, what the Buffalo heard. The Browns were very ruthless the past few days as the initial cuts were made to trim the roster down to 53 players. Nothing stung quite as hard as them releasing offensive lineman Michael Dunn after the social media team wished him a happy birthday today. Sources say on the way out, the team gave Dunn a Dairy Queen cake with "Happy birthday, loser. Sorry you suck," spelled out in frosting. In a move that only shocked the visually impaired, the Browns cut kicker Cade York and traded for former Chargers kicker Dustin Hopkins. The move was a wise one as Hopkins' career field goal percentage is a whole 10 percentage points higher than York's. We asked Hopkins if he was worried kicking in Cleveland's conditions, to which he said, "I spent 7 seasons in that dump called FedEx Field. I'll be fine." Lastly, the NFL is the biggest tease outside of an OnlyFans account as there's no football on TV this week. A dunderheaded addition to the league's CBA gives teams a bye this week, but after 3 preseason games and not in the middle of the actual season. Everyone will sit on their hands these next 10 days as we wait for the real action to start. Personally, I'm already dreading seeing clickbait hot takes on social media before September 7th. I'm looking at you, Pittsburgh. Shut the hell up about Kenny Pickett's monumental leap that's clearly not going to happen. This is Mac, what the Buffalo heard.
Yeah.
That monumental leap is not. Listen, everybody's reporting it. Kenny Pickett got 15 pounds of muscle put on him. My wife is going for a walk right now with her mom, so I can talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers in a negative light. But Kenny Pickett all of a sudden is gaining weight and all it's gaining muscle, and he can throw the ball really far. He looked amazing in preseason. You know what I mean? Look. The 3, it's impressive. I'm not going to downplay it and say, like everybody says, it's against 3rd and 4th stringers. Yeah, it's against 3rd and 4th stringers, but they're trying to make plays. They're trying to make the team, so they're going to go all out. And again, they're crisp. I think it's the important part. You want to work on timing. You want to work on throwing a ball in rhythm, and they're doing a really good job about that over there in Pittsburgh. So look, does he have a great year? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see.
But what is great? There's a brand new segment hitting down with the Browns before the season even starts. And it is Insured Trivia from Jake at Stat Farm.
Woo! This is something I'd like to try with you guys. Every week, I would give you guys one trivia question, and it will be dealing with the game of the week. Since we have 2 weeks left before week 1, we get to do 2 specific questions about Browns versus Bengals. Now, I'm not going to get super tricky.
Okay.
I'm not going to get super tricky with these questions, and I'm not going to say in 2006, how many inches of rain were there when the Browns played the Bengals. I'm not going to be that person.
42.
But I am going to ask you to name the player. So, this player in the expansion era has had the most passing yards against the Cincinnati Bengals in one game. Name that player.
I got it.
Go ahead.
Can I say it? Derek Anderson.
Go ahead. Wrong.
Baker Mayfield.
How many yards did Derek Anderson pass for?
It was like 346, wasn't it?
How many yards did Baker Mayfield pass for, Manny?
Wasn't it 400?
It was 297.
It wasn't. It was 297.
Ooh. I thought he tore up the Bengals one of those
And
games.
it is expansion era. So from 99 to now.
So was it Brandon
What
Wade?
a band.
It was not Brandon Whedon.
Huh.
Wait, has it been?
Well, it couldn't have been Tim Couch because he was sacked 80 times a year. So
Yeah.
Is it gonna
wasn't.
be?
Go ahead, Christian.
I feel like I know this, but I don't want to say it and sound dumb.
Was it Jason
You're not
Campbell?
going to say it wasn't Jason Campbell.
I was gonna say either McCown or Hoyer. Neither.
Dave is super close.
Ooh, so it's right after Tim Couch.
How come?
Holcomb.
Kelly Holcomb.
In
Wow.
2004, November 28th, the highest scoring Bengals versus Browns game. Kelly Holcomb threw 30 for 39 for a total of 413 yards.
Wow.
And 5 touchdown passes.
that
Wow.
was just as good as his playoff game that year.
And
that we
he
lost.
had a quarterback rating
Wow.
of 128.5.
Wow.
that?
That's actually pretty insane.
Yeah, it was
Considering he
November
was 30
28th,
for 39.
2004.
Dude,
Yeah.
I was just a suckling then.
And this was when it was not a pass-heavy league either. So that is incredible.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
What's up,
Keep
Ed?
that
forgetting
the
about the
score,
Kelly
Ed?
Holcomb years. Always slips the mind.
That's insane. That's insane. That's actually a nice little tidbit of trivia there.
I
Ed
like
said it
that.
was 58-48. Was that the real score?
Yes, that was the highest scoring Browns-Bengals game and the second highest scoring game in the history of the National Football League.
Oh
Wow. That's college for you. And that goes to the point. That goes to the point that we were talking about. I think not that it's going to be 58-48, but we're going to have some high scoring football games, and you do not want to lose those due to kicks. So hopefully we don't have the problem. Not that we have to go back to kickers again, but
Yeah.
but you don't want that problem. So
But,
Dude.
um,
I mean, we've got Manny. You see what you have behind you right there, and I'm not stealing anything. But is that a Lombardi trophy?
no, that's the AFC Championship trophy, the trophy that we're going to be
I'm
holding
gonna
up
go
here
one. I'm gonna go one better, and we're gonna talk about the Super Bowl.
in Vegas,
And-
baby.
Yeah, we've been rolling for 30 minutes, and we've done What the Buffalo Heard, Jake's beautiful trivia, and then we've talked about kickers and holders. When we've got a Super Bowl winning team
Yes,
this year in Cleveland,
yes.
the game Saturday just validated it. I've seen everything I needed to see. Put your money on the Browns this year, and I have never said that. I have been down there every single year. I put money out of my pocket into my mouth, and put money where your mouth is every single year. And I can tell you, I feel it in my soul beyond the shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely.
Look at
Dave,
the Browns are playing in the Super Bowl, and we're winning it this year.
Dave, can I get a Super Bowl Super Browns real quick?
Super Bowl, Super Browns.
Yeah, I want to hear you just like
Say it like Christian and say like Super Bowl, Super Browns.
yeah, but
It rolls off the tongue. It rolls off the tongue.
like it's like molasses.
And speaking of that, I do have a sincere, truthful question because again, the Cleveland Browns have been paper champs for a little bit here, right? From top to bottom, all around. You look at the history of the Cleveland Browns. There's some really good players, obviously, right? The Browns in the 80s were very dominant. The Browns in the 40s, 50s, very dominant. But I mean, top to bottom, is this not the best Cleveland Browns roster we've ever had in franchise history? I mean,
Yes.
I mean, some fans quickly go to the answer of, oh, well, they got to do something with it. Oh, well, we got to see something. Oh, well, people say that every year. No, is this emphatically the official best roster like we've ever had? Like no denying. And so if we could just take that, whatever your opinion is going to be, and take that and say, hey, there is a chance we can go to the Super Bowl. I mean, if it's not this roster, I mean, minimum it's going to the playoffs, right? I mean, is this the best roster? Christian, is this the best roster that you've seen? We'll go in order. I do want to hear everybody's truthful opinion
yeah.
if this is the best roster.
I mean, the rosters I've seen since I've been alive, yeah, it really doesn't take that much to, surpass those rosters. But yeah, I think just from top to bottom, I mean, you've got arguably just a top 3 defensive player in the league, the number 1 running back, a top 15 wide receiver, I'm going to say a top 12 quarterback as of right now, because I know some people are in, some people
That's
are out
fair.
on Watson. I'd say a top 8 tight end, top 5 offensive line, top 5 defensive line. Still got to prove that though. Top 5 secondary when healthy, and then just an amazing play caller, and just like the depth at these positions too. Like you got Okoronkwo. He's not even your starting D lineman. He's your third. He's your third option there. So I think it's probably the best since I've been alive.
That's true. That's true. And by the way, people are talking about 2020 Baker. I mean, that was a really good roster right there, but we didn't have healthy Odell Beckham in the playoffs. We didn't, Baker isn't the talent that Deshaun Watson is, and this defense is better, and the defensive coordinator is better. I mean, we're all around better, and we saw what we did in 2020. We won a playoff game, almost beat the Chiefs. If it wasn't for Chad Henne, Mac, what is this the best roster you've ever experienced, ever seen? Is this the best roster in franchise history of the Cleveland Browns?
Absolutely, hands down. I mean, you want to talk about there's the only possible hole that I can see with this roster is just simply it kind of just hinges on Denzel Ward's health, right? The one storyline that's barely getting talked about. Denzel Ward's 4th concussion since entering the league, and he's 26. That is super scary. But also behind him, you have Martin Emerson, who's one of the best man-to-man corners, and he's entering his 2nd year. And that's statistic, so don't even come at me with the speculation. And then you have Greg Newsome, who had one of the best rookie grades in terms of man-to-man coverage. Oh, and by the way, your new defensive coordinator loves man coverage. You have the best D line that I've seen on paper since Clay Matthews and Michael Dean Perry. And oh yeah, by the way, we fixed the defensive tackle problem that I've been begging for the past 2 seasons. I'll say this, and I say this because I highly doubt that this is the case. As much as that I've harped on Stefanski for some of his crazy play calling, this roster was beautifully put together by Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry did his job. Firm believer he had the best offseason out of any NFL GM in the NFL in terms of what he had to work with and what he turned it into. Because most teams, when you have this monumental giant contract, in the quarterback room, it's kind of hard to build other pieces around, right? But what he's done, he's restructured pretty much every single contract on this team. He brought in 2 new defensive tackles as well as a defensive end who is better than what Cleveland thought Jadeveon Clowney was. I mean, Zadarius Smith statistically is right up there with Myles Garrett. I mean, he's had 2 seasons with 78, one with 78 pressures, one with 91 pressures, which led the league. Myles Garrett's never had that amount. That is highest in a season was 73. So we're talking about a defensive end to pair with Myles Garrett that has seasons statistically kind of almost the same, if not better. Now, Kevin Stefanski has to be one of the absolute worst head coaches in the NFL if he blows it this season, because he has been given the keys to the car and it's pretty much an easy course because all the talent is there. He just has to make it work.
Yeah.
It's there, there's no handicap in the quarterback room. He's not starting off with a backup quarterback. His starting quarterback doesn't have a shoulder injury. He doesn't have to worry about COVID rules or Joe Woods being afraid to call man coverage or getting pressure up front. We now fixed the kicker, so he shouldn't really have to worry about, missing extra points and 40-yard field goals. So knock on as much wood as possible here, but how the hell does he fail this season? Yeah.
That's the question that I have for everybody who continuously says, "Oh, well, this is going to be the same old Browns." This is the other. I'm
drunk off at MC.
We've chugged the Kool-Aid. Then you give me a reason outside of something sarcastic, like, "Oh, the Browns are going to do Brown stuff." You give me a reason. If there's football people all over the America, all over the Twitter spaces, you give me a genuine reason where you find the hole in this roster and where you think we can't do what we did in 2020 with a better roster, better head coach, better everything. You tell me, and everybody goes silent outside of, "Oh, the Browns are going to find a way to mess it up because the Browns are the Browns."
It's the Browns.
You have nothing on you have nothing to go off of. So that's why I'm saying, oh my gosh. Yeah. If it's not with this roster, like you're saying, Mac, if Kevin Stefanski can't get it done with this, I mean, everybody's gone. Am I right? Except Deshaun. So that's why
Jim
I'm like,
Schwartz is staying.
Jim Schwartz is staying, but like but you know what I mean. You know what I mean, Jake. What do you think? Is this the best roster, top to bottom? And I also want to hear something, Jake, from you. Can you give me something for the ops and the haters and the people who don't believe in the Browns? Even some Browns fans are just still, skeptical. What do you have to say to people who just don't believe in the Cleveland Browns right now? Because I'm sick and tired of hearing about it, frankly.
Yeah. Now, first, to answer the question, I feel like this is better than the 87 roster. As far as rosters that go back to the 40s, 50s, 60s, I feel like that's a tough discussion to make because of the way the game was. So I'm not going to get into that. I do feel like that this roster, however, is better than 87. I feel like this is the first roster that we've had that's better than 87 because ever since 2018, people have been saying, well, this is the best roster since 87, 2019. This is the best roster since 87. We've been saying that over and over and over to now, 2023. And now I feel like we can officially say 2023 roster is better than 87 from top to bottom, officially. Although I don't feel like that's been the case in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
It is now.
Yeah.
That's because we don't have any more holes now. Every roster we can go through 2018, 2019, 2020. In 2018, we did not have a left tackle. In 2019, our offensive line was just utter trash. In 2020, we did not have the best secondary, aka Andrew Sandeno. 2021, we didn't have a quarterback that can take us to the next level. 22, same thing. Because, of course, Deshaun Watson. Now we have Deshaun Watson for a full season. From top to bottom, we do not have a specific position that we can say, what are we going to do? That is no longer the case as far as the starters go. Now, the backups, I feel, is a different story for a different topic. As far as the haters, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. I can't lie. Because how many rosters have we had where we were like, we're going to the Super Bowl, the Freddie Kitchens year. We thought we were going to go to the AFC Championship game.
We thought we've had a good roster.
Talk to him, Jake.
It's been tough. I can't lie. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten my hopes up way too high. Honestly, you just got to believe. That's the only thing that I can say in particular. You just got to believe.
Get him.
Which you could say stuff like, our strength of schedule is not going to be that great. And it's not. We've got a pretty weak strength of schedule overall. The first 4 weeks is tough, but the majority of our schedule isn't that bad. But I feel like it's just a matter of just trucking on, believing, seeing what we can do. Only time will tell.
100%. And Dave, I'm going to go to you with that question as well. I know Drew was saying that the linebacker room might have some holes, but again, it's not like we have a horrible linebacker room. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not the worst thing we've ever seen. Taki showed some flashes last year. He looks really good. We got Anthony Walker back, captain on the defense. I mean, everybody loves him. We know what happened to that defense when he went down early last season. And another thing is like Deshaun Watson, so talented, by the way, that it's like even his worst, even his mediocre, right? I mean, his mediocre play with this fantastic roster, with the talent that he has now and knocking off the rust, the mediocre play that we've already seen in the preseason and the flashes that we've seen, I mean, it's better than Baker Mayfield in 2020. So, I mean, my goodness. Dave, what do you have to say to some of the people who just don't believe? And also, do you think, you've been a Browns fan longer than us, but do you think that this is the best roster that you've ever experienced in the franchise history?
It is. And for the last couple of years, we've had the best rosters in a long time, to be honest with you. We've had a lot of talent ushered in here. But what I think the big difference is this year is not just talented players. We've had that before. It's a different culture right now. I think the Browns before, with all this analytics, they found a way to pull all that emotion out of a game that's based on emotion. They zapped it all out. And I think now with these personalities, Jim Schwartz is a very dominant alpha type personality. And I think that we're starting to get that that swag back, that little bit of culture change that we needed
Yeah.
to where these players can play freer, they can play faster, they can play smarter, they can kind of be relied on for themselves because Jim Schwartz delegates. He expects you to do your job as he tells you he needs you to do it. And it's just that difference right there. You can see in that preseason game, I know that was just such a small window, but we haven't seen that electricity yet. We haven't seen that dominant defensive pressure yet. That defense, that whole first half, that defense was dominating
Talk about it.
their offensive line. They
Talk
were in the
about it.
backfield on every play. I didn't care if it was the starters, second or third stringers, from Phelps all the way up to whoever. They were in that backfield eating. There's something different about these players right now this year. There's something different about it. They got that dog back in them. And this year, it's Super Bowl this year. I'm stamping it, dude.
Let's go,
Absolutely.
DM.
100%.
You're getting
They
me hyped. You're getting me hyped, DM.
They
And
finally
we have guys in here that are not making excuses. That's what I want. I
Okay.
want guys in here that are not making excuses. We can win these close games. Last year, we know it all on the forefront of our mind. The close games we should have won: the Jets, the Falcons, the Chargers games. You know what I mean? We know them, and it's time to start winning these games. And I think we're able to do that. I think we're able to keep up with these teams, and we're going to show it week one.
Yeah.
It's gonna go even further than that. I mean, not only are they gonna win the Super Bowl this year, they are gonna have the biggest point differential between points scored and points given up. I think they're going to have the biggest margin of point differential in the NFL. I don't think we're going to be worried about a kicker in the fourth quarter at all in any games this year.
Talk to him, DM.
Dude, I think the NFL is going to be absolutely blown away with the level of ass whooping.
Let's go!
Screencast
Round of applause, baby.
everything you fight, smoke it. The Browns are winning the Super Bowl, bro. That's it.
Dude, get
They're
Dave
winning.
in the locker room, man, because he could hop this team into going 17.
Dude, I believe it in my soul. I've seen it, man. I could tell in their I watch everything, man. I watch every press conference. I watch the mannerisms of which the questions are asked. I watch the mannerisms of which they answer the questions.
Yes.
I watch their eyes. I listen to the tone. I hear everything. And this shit happens this year. Super Bowl. Baby.
Let's go, baby!
Yeah.
Let's go! I'm sick and tired of it. I'm telling, and everyone knows. I mean, we have the best running back. We have a fantastic quarterback. Our offensive line is top two, and not two in the league. It's crazy to talk about. I mean, the pieces are all there. There's no more excuses.
Yeah.
So all that other stuff stay back last year. Stay back the year before. Come on now.
Yeah.
So, do you guys remember what made that 2018 defense great? It was the turnovers, right?
Turnovers.
And
Yeah.
what kind of coach did they have on defense?
That's
They
great.
had a guy
Greg
that
Williams.
was aggressive, and he had the mentality of, we're going to get beat, but you have to earn every single yard. And that's the mentality that Jim Schwartz brings to this team. I mean, we're talking about a coach that just had his players get 3 interceptions. 2 of them were pick six. And he was not happy that there were points on the board. He was frustrated to the point to where he's yelling at his players seconds before being pulled for a sideline interview before going into halftime. Like, that is the kind of – they need a bad guy, right? Because Kevin Stefanski, since he's been here, and, you know,
He is
everybody
not.
has
Yeah.
their own coaching style, right? You know,
Yep.
some guys are players coach and some guys are hard asses. Well, you can't have players coaches all across the board. Somebody's got to be the bad guy, right? There's no such thing as good cop, right? So Jim Schwartz just brings that just swagger to this defense. I mean, I believe the quote was he wants to lead the league in swag this year, right?
Mhm.
Was that something that he said in camp?
Yeah.
Wasn't
He's
it?
off to a good
So-
start.
Yeah, no, and he's off to a good start. And you could just tell that these players are fired
Dude,
up. I
that's
mean,
the
look at the body language in those preseason games compared to the body language that they had last year.
Absolutely.
I mean, we had guys pointing
Who you with?
fingers.
Who you with,
We
Jay?
had guys, you know, throwing bombs
Jay.
at each other verbally in press conferences and firing off tweets. Oh, that's not my job. You know, that was this guy. That was that guy. That wasn't me. You know, you don't have that this year. And Jim Schwartz makes it, while he does have his wrinkles and everything, he makes it relatively simple. You know, and to go back to the whole, you know, this roster's too good to fail thing. Let's just say, and I was talking to Dave and KFC about this last night, but let's just say hypothetically, you know, and especially with you playing all three of your divisional opponents the first 3 weeks. So let's just say after 5 weeks, they start, or after 4 weeks, they start 1-3, and Stefanski's canned. It's gone. The offense is broken.
Yep.
What happens then? Well, the only coordinator with NFL head coaching experience is Jim Schwartz, a guy that took the Detroit Lions to the playoffs twice. How many coaches in the NFL can say that they've taken the Detroit Lions to the playoffs, let alone done it 2 times in their career? So you have that, and you have Alex Van Pelt. When was the last time that he was an offense coordinator? Oh, wait, it was the playoff game in Pittsburgh where they put up 40 points.
Yeah.
So, you know,
and by the
totally
way,
totally different culture.
So, this is why it's so annoying. This is why it's so annoying, because people act like, oh, we beat the Steelers in the playoffs, and the Steelers fans say, hey, that's your Super Bowl. That's your Super Bowl. If we already beat you once in your home, we're away, right? When you said the Browns are the Browns, and we beat you with Baker Mayfield and no OBJ and no Jim Schwartz. Now we fixed our defensive line, got a better offensive line, got a better quarterback. You know, it's like our head coach is, you know, our head coach had COVID. He couldn't even be at the game and we still beat you. So it's like we have all the pieces now. So why are people it's weird. It's just weird. But but again, it takes some time just to change your mind about stuff. We're gonna have to show.
Yeah.
And I like the position we're in.
Well, okay. So here's how I look at it. Like, you guys keep talking about the culture changing, and I think a lot of it has to do with not only just Jim Schwartz, but some of the players that have left in the offseason. Some people that I felt were just here to collect checks, you know?
Yeah.
Jadavion's gone.
Oh,
Jadavion's gone. And went to the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens.
JJ3's gone, though.
We don't even care about
I got
that.
him out.
JJ3 was
him
another one running his mouth.
Juan Thornhill. Replaced him.
Thornhill.
Dude, I mean, how about Juan Thornhill, man, turning into freaking Ed Reed, who can lay the lumber, man? I mean, my goodness, dude.
And then you replace Jadeveon Clowney with 2 guys that are willing to put in the work and have had playoff success, Sedarius and Okoronkwo. And then you up this O-line, or the defensive line, with a guy that has been to the Super Bowl in Shelby Harris, Super Bowl champion. And then Dalvin Tomlinson too.
Yeah.
There's like so much Super Bowl talent on this defense now. And it just makes me so hyped because these guys are still hungry. And they're just chasing a ring. And like Juan Thorn, he said like he's going to get another one in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Like, he's so like, I think you talked about this not too long ago, Mandy. Like, you talked about him getting the tat on his arm. Like, that shows these guys are bought in.
Yeah.
And that's something we've not had.
Yes.
And I love the vibe going into the season too with the media, because we've not had like anybody, like the past couple of years we've had these teams like, oh, the Browns are sleepers. The Browns are sleepers. And like, you're not really hearing that right now. Like, you go back to the 2021 offseason going into that year, they're like, the Browns are dark horses to win Super Bowl. Duh, 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 duh. And, you know, they're hopping and like everybody's like buying in. So like the expectations are here. And, you know, outside of Browns fans, like outside of us, nobody really even sees us going to the playoffs. Like they're like, oh, this team's kind of good, but it's the Browns. Like
I like that because
I love it. Because the Bengals fans think we're the same trash team we were last year, bro. They keep talking. They keep talking like we don't own them.
They're going to find out on September 10th when we hit them in the mouth. They're going to find out real quick this year.
Exactly.
And you know what's crazy? The thing I love about beating the Bengals.
Joe Woods owned Joe Burrow.
Yes.
So bad. Like, I cannot wait for September 10th, bro. I cannot wait to sniff the fresh air of First Energy Stadium and hear Joe Burrow crying because he's hitting the ground so much from Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith. I cannot wait till we make our arrival for the dynasty. Yep. September 10th starts the dynasty for the Cleveland Browns.
That's it.
Absolutely, 100%. I do want to address one quick thing that Drew said that Jack Duffin, a good friend of the show and on Twitter, talks a lot of financial
Oh
stuff
my
about
God.
the Browns. Said that Shelby Harris could be a surprise cut, and Grant Delpit,
Please, no,
could be a
not
surprise
Delpit.
trade. What are your guys' first thoughts on that, really quickly, as we keep this bad boy rolling? What are your first thoughts?
So, do you mind if I go first?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus.
So if one of those two things are going to happen, I would say Shelby Harris before Grant Delpit.
Yeah.
You know, number one, just because of how young Grant Delpit is, and number two, really the surprise. Well, not really that much of a surprise to me, but surprise to some people. Mo freaking Hurst. I mean, he, in my opinion, has outplayed Jordan Elliott. And he is one hell of a penetrator at the defensive tackle position.
Yeah.
You know, now if Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski really believe in Ronnie Hickman and DeAnthony Bell, then yeah, I mean they might trade Grant Delpit if they get a good offer for him. Because in all reality, I mean, you know, Rodney McLeod's already played in Jim Schwartz's defense. He's already knows what he's doing, and it's evident, you know, by the interception that he had in the preseason. And I really do think that, you know, if Grant Delpit struggles, he's going to land himself on the bench because Rodney McLeod, he's been doing this his entire career, and he's been playing at a very top level. I mean, I was very kind of surprised that they were able to bring him in. And you know that he didn't get paid higher by another team, but also again, you know, he's playing with a familiar face. But you know, outside of those first two safeties, you know, DeAnthony Bell has not had a great preseason game. I mean, you know, one of his things that made him a great special teamer and, you know, a great bench guy was his tackling and his ability to play the run. Well, his angles and his pursuits of the football have not been great these past two games. And he's given up a couple touchdowns. And then you have Ronnie Hickman, who he has played great. Don't get me wrong, but he's still an undrafted rookie. Like, do you really want that as your third safety? So, you know, I don't think that they're that comfortable with the safety room to just give Grant Delpit away unless, you know, granted, you know, they hear every single offer. So if there's an offer that they cannot refuse, I'm sure they'll take it. Jesus, dude, calm down. Sorry.
Love some camera time.
Yeah, no, I freeze a Kong of peanut butter before every podcast, and he goes through it in like 40 minutes. So the rest of the 20, he's just being an absolute terrorist. Right now, he's got his bison that he's squeaking and everything. And Ed brings up a great point. You know, what are we going to do if Denzel Ward can't go? You know, it is his fourth concussion here, and he's 26.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's very, very scary for a guy that at his age. And, you know, you hear all these times about these football players that, you know, they're before 30 and they retire. And, you know, you can't really blame them because concussions are scary. So,
Dave, can you speak on that a little bit? And Jake, I want to hear what your thoughts are. Are there any concerns about Denzel Ward's health and if he can go? And what are your thoughts on that? Go ahead,
yeah,
Dave.
I think there is now, especially since it's been publicized. Somebody actually did some math on it and listed what his injuries and missed games were like. I know it opened my eyes, and I'm sure it did a lot of other people as well. But you know, I mean, listen, Denzel, man, he's kind of like that kid. He just kind of goes out there until they tell him not to. So, you know, he doesn't sit himself down. He has to be pulled out of games, and both of those concussions, he went out. He had to be pulled out. He wants to play. So until his performance shows anything, any deterioration due to some injuries or something like that, I mean, let him roll. But I think it's a concern. And, I mean, I don't know, man. It's always one of those crazy things, but it's just to go back to the point about trading Delpit. I mean, whether Denzel can go or not, or ends up getting hurt, whatever, all the more reason to hang on to Grant Delpit, because everybody forgets those last 7-8 games last year. Grant Delpit was one of the best safeties in NFL. I mean, he was playing lights out football. So if they did trade Grant Delpit, I don't know what they would get for him, but I would hope it would be a massive haul because he's worthy of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
100%. Jake, any concerns about Denzel Ward?
I hate to say this, but I always have concerns, not just with Denzel Ward, but with just about any secondary player in the National Football League. Because I feel like they're the most injured players in the league overall, not just with Cleveland, but with any team. And yes, I mean, Denzel Ward, I don't think he's played a full season since being in Cleveland, has he?
I don't think so.
I don't
He
think
has
so
not.
either.
He
think
has not.
He has,
so.
He has not.
but he's done more good than bad.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Cleveland.
he's very notable.
True. Very true.
He's very
Very
notable.
true.
And we truly need him. And he's now, in a sense, a veteran for this Cleveland Browns team. Because he was there when, of course, we were 0-6. Well, when we were 0-16, but right after 0-16, and he was kind of one of the players that led the charge for the defense, with Greg Williams at defensive coordinator. So I feel like it would be too early to say, hey, Denzel, we got to let you go, just because of an injury concern.
Yeah.
I feel like we just
Remember, they gave him that big contract when he had already a good portion of those injuries. So the Browns
Yes.
must feel okay about it.
They must feel pretty
Yes.
okay.
I agree.
And really quickly, can you guys give some of the surprise cuts? I know, Mac, you already technically had one. Who's the name that you came up with? And then I'll go KFC, and then Dave, and then Jake.
Sure.
Oh, so me?
Oh yeah. No,
my
I want to
bad.
hear the name that Mac came up with. Mac said I forgot who Mac said.
Oh, no. I was just talking about like if I had to pick one of the two of Jack Duffin's predictions, I mean, I would just take Shelby Harris.
Yeah.
But sticking with the D line here, surprise cut, I would be Jordan Elliott.
Wow.
You know, he had a decent last game, but Mo Hurst has outplayed him. Shelby Harris has outplayed him. I mean, Dalvin Tomlinson, that's a gimme. So I don't think they're going to keep five defensive tackles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it I mean, who have we seen less of, him or Tommy Togiai? Well, we've seen less of Tommy Togiai, and Tommy Togiai technically had a better preseason. So, I mean, and I get everybody sitting there, $1.7 million. They're not going to just give up $1.7 million. Well, Jordan Elliott's been in this group, been on this team for 4 years now, and he hasn't really shown us anything outside of, plays that I can count on my hand. And I don't even think I can count to 5 at this point.
Yeah.
So, I surprise cut, I would say Jordan Elliott, just simply because everybody else in that room has kind of outplayed him, in my opinion.
Yeah. KFC, who's your surprise cut? And then we'll go Dave, and then we'll go Jake.
My surprise cut, I'm going to go – oh, man, this is hard.
Ed, your jokes are still just as lame as they were last year. I swear, he's the king of dad jokes. It's those puns, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I'm going to say surprise cut. I'm going to go with the Anthony Bell. I think that they'll let him walk. I think that they'll run with those 3 safeties. I think it'll be Delpit, McLeod, and Thornhill.
You don't think that they're going to have 4 safeties?
I think they'll keep like a hybrid top guy. And if they do run a 4th, I think it'll be Hickman.
I agree with that
raw.
same thing as well. I mean, Hickman, we've seen him be able to play downhill, and his knock was always coverage. But, he's had 3 interceptions. So it's just, he's given up a TD or 2, of course, but he's shown that he can go downhill and tackle.
Yeah.
And, just like how I was saying earlier, D'Anthony Bell did not have a great preseason. So, I think they're going to go with more upside there, the 4th one. That's a good take there, Christian.
Yeah.
But Dave, who do you think? Well, first and foremost, AJ Green cut. I don't know if we'll move on from AJ Green.
Close.
I think he might sliver in. But with the Anthony Schwartz cut, I think that almost guarantees Austin Watkins Jr. is making this roster. I mean, my goodness, I how can you not let Austin Watkins not make the roster? So, Dave, who's your guy? Who's going to be who's your surprise cut? And then we'll go Jake.
I don't see anybody being a surprise cut. A surprise cut to me is somebody, a notable name who gets dropped out that you didn't expect to get released. And I mean, everybody that I see is making this roster. I mean, I don't know what Taki's overall status is with the front office, but I mean, I guess if there was a crazy name, maybe a linebacker, Taki. But I mean, I could see every name that matters to me is making this roster no matter what. So I wouldn't even be able to speculate other than something crazy like Peoples Jones or something like that. But,
Yeah.
Drew said he can't stand the David Bell haters. I think David Bell the only problem with David Bell before we get to you, Jake,
He doesn't stick out.
Yeah, exactly.
He hasn't
done anything since he's gotten here.
He got that one. He had that one play that they put on the Browns Twitter like last week.
And it's like, and I'm sorry, I know. Well, he hasn't gotten so much time. David Bell hasn't got. I know that, but you got to do something.
He can't get on the field.
Exactly. And there's just players who are just better than you, and better than you. And then Austin Watkins Jr. is doing a fantastic job. You know what I mean? Taking the bull by the horns and taking the position. Look, David Bell, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to do something for me.
Yeah.
Is that why we hate him?
Yeah.
would that be a surprise cut for you guys though, David Bell? I don't think it would for me.
I think it would be a surprise cut because it's a Andrew Berry.
It's just his second year though.
It is his second year, but wasn't David Bell our first pick of last year?
No, that was Martin Emerson.
It was Martin Emerson. Sorry.
Martin Emerson, Alex Wright, and then David Bell.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, he would be a surprise cut just because we're moving on from him so early. But then at the same time, it wouldn't be so much of a surprise because glorious day we're having wide receiver talent.
Yeah,
Right
if anything happened with David Bell, I don't think we'd cut him. I think we would trade him.
Yeah, true.
I mean, he's obviously not a number
Marcus.
3 because they went and got Elijah Moore. So if Bell was a good number 3 or a slot receiver, he'd be out there with Amari Cooper, who's a stud, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, who can be and needs to flash this year. But obviously, they don't have much confidence in David Bell. I'm surprised he's still around at this point, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Dang.
I think Marcus on Twitter also says David Bell is possible cut. Matt saying that, his separation is better than Amari last year. I think we haven't seen enough. We have not seen enough. So, you know what I mean? Is Felton gone yet? I think Felton's going to be taking some kick returns and punt returns and things like that. So I don't think they're going to move on from him. So especially with Jakeem Grant, unfortunate. Prayers up for Jakeem Grant again. That was horrible. Horrible. Just a fantastic electric player that we wanted to see here on the Browns, and hopefully he'll get healthy and next year can be the year that he bounces back. But Jake, who did you give your surprise cut already, Jake?
Not yet.
Let's do it.
There's a lot to add to what you guys have already put into this topic so far. I know Mac mentioned Jordan Elliott. It is more of a surprise to me that Jordan Elliott has not been cut. Like, I feel like it is time for him to just get out.
Yeah.
I hate to say it like that, but I don't feel like he's produced anything. I said it last week, and I took it away from Mac last week. Again, I apologize, Mac. But
No, you're good. Yeah. Spitting facts. I can't blame you.
Yeah, I feel like he needs to, like, his time is up, personally. If they cut Shelby Harris and Jordan Elliott is somehow still on this team, something is wrong. Jordan Elliott has some inside dirt on front office if that happens.
Well, no, Jake, what he'll have is he has the backing of Myles Garrett. If you watch Myles Garrett last year in the preseason, Myles Garrett gave a glowing review of Jordan Elliott, saying that he was getting ready to make the next step and blah, 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 which I was very shocked to hear because Myles usually doesn't speak on behalf of anybody but himself. So he did. Sorry to cut you off.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay. That's a good point. I just haven't seen anything from him yet. I mean, who was it? Malik McDowell in the 2020 season, or was it the 2021 season?
Yeah.
Malik McDowell went out there right out the gate and was in the backfield almost every single play effortlessly. And if the man hadn't got arrested, he'd still be on the team.
He probably would be. He was an animal. Him and Tackle
He
together.
was.
That's true.
But-
Matt, that's a really good point. Darden might be a surprise return guy too. But go ahead, Jake. Sorry to cut you.
Yeah.
No, you're okay. You're okay. Now, I feel like there won't be any specific surprise cuts, as Dave was saying earlier. Now, I'm not saying this will happen because I don't want it to happen. But if they were to cut Diabate, that would be a surprise cut. But I don't want them to. We need him. That's where we struggle. People say we struggle at the linebacker position. No, we don't. We struggle with backups at the linebacker position. I feel like that's a different issue. Last year we had the linebackers, but when they got injured, that's where we fell off. Now that we have some backups, I feel like it won't be as big of an issue. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Do you guys think Tony Fields makes the cut?
He's had a couple splash plays.
Yeah, I mean Jordan Kunasek is out with
Yeah.
the knee injury for a while, so I think I would be more surprised if they don't bring in another linebacker here. But behind them, it's Diabate and Tony Fields, and then of course they're going to keep Matt Adams because he's a special teams guy.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I don't really see anyone beating out those three there, especially with Kunasek. It would be a totally different thing if Kunasek was still here because, I mean, he's Jim Schwartz's favorite. The guy was wearing his jersey at practice. But, that's another one where you were kind of sad to see because I was excited for him to get some snaps this year. He was a, no name coming into the team last year. I don't even think he was on the initial 53. I think he came in late in the season, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was after we lost half the linebacking core, like halfway through the season.
Yeah, and and especially for a defense that struggled against the run last year, and Jim Schwartz is going to hammer home defending the run this year. Diabate is your guy. I mean, the guy can run downhill. He's not afraid to take on blockers, and he plays with like his hair's on fire. And that's the kind of run-stopping linebacker that you need on this team. So, right. I would be shocked if Diabate didn't make the 53.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, me too.
100%. 100%.
Absolutely.
So, So I'm going to say the last thing really quickly is our next game. Obviously, it's the rehearsal's over, right? I mean, it's finally time to put everything that we've been saying, pen to paper. Finally going to this season. It's week 1. We're opening. It's a gauntlet again. We're opening at hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's going to be electric. It's going to be an atmosphere that I think Browns fans are really excited for, to get a home opener win for the first time in a long time, especially against Cincinnati. Will we get Joe Burrow? Will we not get Joe Burrow? I don't think most of us care. I think we're going to get a win anyway. That's just my honest opinion. But also I do want to say, down with the Browns, it's our 100th episode coming soon. This is episode 99.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you guys so much for supporting. Thank you so much. Please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out, Down with the Browns. We're giving giveaways, some merch. We got some really nice merch going on. Christian, what do you want to say? You want to say something?
Well, to that point on the Bengals game, I just want to let you guys know, Joe Burrow's not been practicing much lately.
No, he is not. And but at the same time, I give little, concern to that, or any play to that, because
I don't.
They're not. We're not playing Nick Chubb. You know what I mean? Like, we know it.
Yeah, but he's practicing though. Like, he's practicing.
True. But like, I think they don't want him to do anything. It's Joe Burrow.
I know, but
right?
Like,
I mean, they're getting him ready to see his dad come week 1.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't wait to use that picture
Papa
again.
Miles.
Yeah, I can't wait to use that picture that I made last year after we just owned them on
What
Halloween. This one.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome. That's gonna be so awesome.
My gosh.
Wait.
That's gonna be so awesome.
And wait.
That's gonna be so amazing. Hey guys, great show. Thank you so much for listening. This was a really fun one. Make sure you play it back. Follow us on YouTube. As Jeff said, go Browns, go Browns. And as always, go Browns.
Go Browns.
Go Browns, baby.